Most rental cars break your trip, not the road. You land at the airport, grab whatever the counter hands you, and by day 2, the check engine light is on. The fuel economy is 40% worse than the sticker, and you are paying $80 to fill a tank that felt full an hour ago. There is one brand that consistently avoids all of that, and rental fleets already know it: Toyota. Not because it's the flashiest, not because it's the cheapest to rent, but because when you look at reliability data, real-world fuel economy, service records, and the raw math of what a rental actually costs you, Toyota wins by a landslide. Today at Drivvly, we're breaking down exactly why Toyota is the best car to rent in the USA. With real Consumer Reports rankings, real J.D. power dependability numbers, real fuel cost math, and the specific models to ask for at the counter. I'll give you real data on reliability, the fuel savings you can actually pocket, safety ratings from the people who crash test these cars for a living, and the exact Toyota models to request at Hertz, Avis, Enterprise, and Turo, so you walk up to that counter knowing more than the person behind it. The number on your rental confirmation is not what the trip costs you. That daily rate is the starting line. Fuel is the biggest variable expense, and a thirsty mid-size sedan can quietly double what you spend at the pump over a week. Downtime is the expense nobody prices in until it happens to them. A car that throws a warning light or refuses to start on day 2 of a 5-day trip does not just cost you a phone call. It costs you the morning you spend on the shoulder waiting for roadside, the drive to a swap location, and the plans you cancel because you are dealing with a car instead of enjoying where you flew to. Stress is real too. Fighting an unfamiliar touchscreen while merging onto a highway you have never driven is how small mistakes turn into big ones. The brand you pick changes all 3 of those numbers. Choose right, and you spend less on gas. You never think about the car again after you leave the lot, and you drive something your hands already understand. That is the entire case for Toyota, and the data backs up every piece of it. Reliability. Reliability is where Toyota separates from the field, and it is not close. In the Consumer Reports 2026 Annual Auto Reliability Survey, Toyota finished first among all brands with a score of 66, Subaru finished second at 63, and Toyota's own luxury division, Lexus, finished third at 60. Consumer Reports builds those rankings from road tests, plus survey data on roughly 380,000 vehicles owned by its members. So this is real owner experience, not a lab guess. Toyota has been at or near the top for years. It led the 2025 survey as well, and even in the 2024 survey, when Subaru edged ahead, Toyota and Lexus still sat in the top 3. When the same 2 nameplates trade first place year after year, that is a pattern you can plan a trip around. J.D. Power tells the same story from a different angle. Its vehicle dependability study measures problems reported per 100 vehicles after 3 years of ownership, so a lower score is better. In the J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Vehicle Dependability Study, Lexus ranked highest overall at 135 problems per 100 vehicles. Toyota ranked second at 147, and the industry average was 190. Toyota also ranked highest among mass-market brands, and the parent company took 9 model-level segment awards, including the Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Tacoma, and Tundra. Toyota and Lexus have kept collecting those dependability awards in the years since. Here is why those numbers matter the second you are standing at a rental counter. A dependable car means fewer mid-trip breakdowns, no stranded travelers, and no unplanned roadside stops eating your vacation. Picture the alternative. Your rental dies on a 2-lane road an hour outside the city. You pull over, put on the hazards, and dig through the glove box for the roadside number. Every major rental company, Enterprise, Hertz, and Avis included, will tell you the same thing when you call. Mechanical failure is on them, and they will arrange a tow and a replacement vehicle. That is the good news. The bad news is time. You wait for the tow. You either get shuttled to the nearest branch or wait for a swap car to come to you. On a good day, that is a couple of hours. On a bad day in a rural area, it is your whole afternoon. The car that never makes that call is worth more than the few dollars a day you might save on something cheaper, and Toyota is the brand least likely to make you make it. Fuel economy. Fuel is where a Toyota rental pays you back in cash you can count. The Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, publishes the official numbers at fueleconomy.gov, and Toyota's hybrid lineup dominates. The Prius carries an EPA estimated 57 miles per gallon, or MPG, combined in LE trim, rated 57 city and 56 highway. The 2025 Corolla Hybrid is rated 50 mpg combined in its most efficient trim. The 2025 Camry, which is now hybrid only across the board, is rated up to 51 miles per gallon combined. The RAV4 Hybrid is rated 39 miles per gallon combined, roughly 40, while a comparable gas-only midsize SUV lives closer to 25 to 30. Now the math, because this is money you either keep or hand to a gas station. AA's national average for a gallon of regular gasoline was $4.01 as of early August 2026, so let's use $4. Take a 500-mile trip. A typical mid-size gas car at 25 miles per gallon burns 20 gallons, which is $80. A RAV4 Hybrid at 40 miles per gallon burns 12.5 gallons, which is $50. You saved $30 on one tank of driving, and you stopped at the pump one fewer time. Stretch that to a real road trip. 1,500 miles in a 25 miles per gallon sedan is 60 gallons, or $240. The same 1,500 miles in a Camry Hybrid at 51 miles per gallon is under 30 gallons, or about $118. That is a swing of more than $120 on a single week of driving, just from the badge on the trunk. On a longer or hillier route, the gap widens because hybrids do their best work in exactly the stop-and-go and city crawling that murders a conventional engine's mileage. There is a quieter benefit, too. A hybrid's range per tank is enormous, so you spend less of your trip hunting for stations in unfamiliar towns and less time standing in the cold or the heat filling up. You book the trip to be somewhere, not to memorize the gas stations near the interstate. Comment which Toyota you have rented, or the worst rental car you have ever gotten stuck with. The stories help other travelers avoid the same mistake. Consistency and familiarity. There is a hidden advantage to renting a brand that builds cars the same way every time. The Corolla you rent in Miami drives like the Corolla you rent in Denver. Same seating position, same button layout, same predictable brake feel. You are not relearning a car every time you fly somewhere new. And on unfamiliar roads, that predictability is a safety feature in its own right. Toyota backs that up with real equipment. Toyota Safety Sense has been standard on nearly every new Toyota since 2018, and the current versions bundle automatic emergency braking, lane departure alert with steering assist, adaptive cruise control that holds your distance on the highway, automatic high beams, and road sign recognition. On a rental, that means the car is helping you watch a road you have never seen, in traffic patterns you do not know. The cabin helps just as much. Toyota kept physical knobs and buttons for climate control instead of burying everything in a screen, so you can turn down the air conditioning without taking your eyes off the road. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have been standard on the lineup since around 2020, so your phone's maps and music are on the dash in seconds. You are not fighting the interface, and a driver who is not fighting the interface is a driver watching the road. On a rental, where every mile is unfamiliar, that is exactly what you want. The fleet reality. The rental companies already voted with their purchase orders. Per Consumer Affairs, just 3 companies account for about 94% of the U.S. car rental market. Enterprise, which owns National and Alamo, Avis, which owns Budget, Payless, and Zipcar, and Hertz, which owns Dollar and Thrifty. Toyota is a cornerstone of their fleets. Per Cox Automotive, Toyota's share of sales into rental fleets was 24.2% in 2022, second only to Stellantis, and a huge jump from just 10.9% in 2019. When you rent a compact, you are often handed a Corolla. Midsize commonly means a Camry. The standard SUV slot is frequently a RAV4. Avis even runs a dedicated Toyota rental page listing the Corolla Camry, RAV4, Sienna, Highlander, Prius, and Tacoma. The peer-to-peer side tells the same story. On Turo, the Toyota Corolla is a foundational fleet car for high-volume hosts, and the RAV4 is described as the vehicle that appeals to nearly every renter, from campers to business travelers. Camry, Corolla, and RAV4 rank among the most booked and lowest hassle cars on the platform precisely because they are dependable and cheap to maintain. Rental companies buy Toyotas for the same reason you should want to rent one. Reliable cars spend fewer days in the shop and more days earning, and they sell for more when the fleet retires them. Toyota historically kept its rental fleet volume restrained specifically to protect resale value, which is part of why Kelley Blue Book, or KBB, named Toyota its best resale value mainstream brand for the 6th straight year, and Lexus its best resale luxury brand for the 5th straight year for 2026, with Toyota vehicles retaining an average 53% of value. There is a bonus for you in that cycle. Fleets turn cars over quickly, often inside a year or so and well before high mileage, so the Toyota you rent is usually newer and lower mileage than you might expect, because the strong resale market pulls those cars back out at a premium. The models to request at the counter, now the part you can actually use. Here are the Toyotas worth asking for and who each one fits. Start with the Corolla and Corolla Hybrid, the budget champion. It starts around a manufacturer's suggested retail price, or MSRP, of $23,460, rents in the roughly $35 to $55 a day economy or compact class, and returns up to 50 miles per gallon as a hybrid. This is the pick for solo travelers and city rentals, where parking is tight and every mile is cheap. Step up to the Camry and Camry Hybrid, the mid-size champion. For 2025, the whole Camry line is hybrid, rated up to 51 miles per gallon combined, on an MSRP starting near $28,700. It rents in the mid-size class, and it is the smart call for business travelers, couples, and long highway road trips where comfort and fuel range both matter. The RAV4 and RAV4 Hybrid are the SUV champion. The hybrid returns about 39 to 40 miles per gallon, which is remarkable for a vehicle this practical, and it handles the mix of highway, gravel, and trailhead parking that a national park trip throws at you. This is the family and mixed terrain pick, and it is one of the most requested SUVs in every fleet. Need 3 rows? Go to the Highlander Hybrid, the family SUV. It seats up to 8 and still returns an EPA estimated 35 miles per gallon combined, versus about 24 to 25 for the gas model. This is the one for 5 or more people on a multi-day trip who do not want to stop for gas every afternoon. For the biggest group, the Sienna is the road trip champion. It is hybrid only, rated 36 miles per gallon combined, seats 8, and starts around an MSRP of $41,320, which is minivan space at SUV beating fuel economy. If you are moving a large group or a lot of luggage, nothing else on this list touches it. Last, the Tacoma, the pickup champion. It starts around an MSRP of $32,545, is harder to find at the traditional counters, but is readily available on Turo. And it is the pick for outdoor and adventure trips where you need a bed and real capability. Fitting, since KBB projected the Tacoma to hold the best resale value of any 2026 vehicle. A few counter tactics. At Hertz and Avis, you book by car class, not by brand, so you cannot guarantee a Toyota, but you can call ahead or note a preference and ask the agent at pickup what Toyota options are on the lot that day. Enterprise works the same way, though agents are often willing to point you to a specific car if you ask nicely. When you want a guaranteed specific Toyota model, Turo is the tool, because there you are booking an exact car from an exact listing. When not to rent a Toyota. Toyota is the smart default, not the answer to every trip, so let me be honest about the exceptions. If the point of the trip is a specific luxury or performance experience, an anniversary or a client you want to impress, rent the Mercedes, the BMW, or the Lexus and enjoy it. If you need a pickup for genuinely heavy hauling or towing, know that the Tacoma is a mid-size truck, so step up to a full-size from a company that stocks them. If you specifically want an electric vehicle, or EV, Toyota's BZ4X is not the strongest rental pick right now, and you would be happier in a model with a more mature charging experience. And if it is a one-day city rental where you will barely drive, the fuel and reliability advantages are small, so just take the cheapest safe car on the lot and move on. Picking the right tool for the trip is the whole point. So that is the case. Toyota wins on reliability data from Consumer Reports and J.D. Power. It wins on real fuel savings you can measure in dollars per tank. It wins on standard safety gear and a cabin you already know how to use. And the rental companies themselves have already bet their fleets on it. Ask for a Corolla, a Camry, a RAV4, a Highlander, or a Sienna by name. Use Turo when you want an exact model, and you will spend less and stress less on your next trip. Now I want to hear from you. Which Toyota would you request for your next rental? And what is the best or worst rental car you have ever driven? Tell me in the comments. If this saved you money or saved you a headache, subscribe to Drivvly so the next traveler finds it too. Safe travels out there.